When responding to situations like natural disasters, damage assessment, or informing the public, every second counts. ArcGIS Solutions are designed to help you reduce the time to deploy location-based solutions for many industry-specific configurations.
We're pleased to welcome Lindsay Thomas. She is the ArcGIS Solutions Lead for Public Safety for Esri Inc. out of their Ottawa office, and she's here today to talk about her work and how it impacts our communities. Lindsay, welcome to Spatial Report.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Mark, Maggie. Really excited to be here.
And we're excited to have you here, so thank you for spending some time with us today. I love ArcGIS Solutions, and I think I'm one of the people who uses them more than most in our organization, but I want to change that, and that's why we have you here to help give them some love. So I don't know if we could start off just by introducing to our users today, what are ArcGIS Solutions and who has access to them? Just sort of the basic information about what they are to get us started.
I feel like Mark gave a good intro. ArcGIS Solutions at the most basic is an industry-specific configuration of ArcGIS. That's a lot of big words. What does that really mean? So if you have ArcGIS Online or you have ArcGIS Enterprise, ArcGIS Solutions comes with that. So there's no additional cost to it. And if you go in and you click on the app switcher, which is that little 3x3 dot icon in ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise, you'll get to the Solutions app. It's a purple suitcase. Click on it, and you get this application in a browser, and it looks like a gallery. It has all these individual solutions that are there. For public safety, it's things like crime analysis or emergency management operations, damage assessment, flood impact analysis. And when you click on those, you get some information about it. There's some links to our documentation. And if you go ahead and click Deploy Now, what that actually does is it gives you maps, apps, and layers. They're all connected. They're all ready to go based around those different workflows. And they take a copy of that and put it in your online organization or your enterprise organization, whatever one you're using. So that's what we mean when we say an ArcGIS solution, those individual items that help accomplish a workflow, help improve your business operations, accomplish a task, provide efficiency, all based around different industries. So I represent the public safety team, but we also have solutions for utilities, defense, state and local, provincial government, telco, and some business stuff as well.
That's really interesting. And as you mentioned, you are working specifically with public safety solutions. So what areas do those cover?
Yeah, so when we say public safety, it's a pretty broad bucket, but most of the work we do is for law enforcement, municipal fire service, emergency management, a little bit of health and human services, also my team covers, and wildfire as well.
Right. So it covers a decent amount of areas. And do you find for your solutions in the public safety sector, are there specific users that you're seeing using them most frequently, different types of organizations that are accessing those solutions?
Yeah. So the solutions, we're really user focused. And what I mean by that, when we do design or we create a solution, like who's using this? Is this a local government? Is this a police department? Which agency? I'm really focusing on that. But the types of users could be people from a city, a county, tribal government, state, provincial. Those tend to be the primary customers that we support. But you'll also see consultants, Esri partners, our international distributors use those solutions as well. Even nonprofits, higher education, national government will take advantage of those. So it's a really big customer group, but generally we're more focused on those locals. Like when you think about public safety, you think police, fire, emergency managers. That's usually done at that local level. It's the boots on the ground folks, but we see all different tiers of government and the private sector to use that.
Yeah, that's really interesting. The wide swath that these public safety solutions can cover. Maybe are you able to share an example of how a public safety solution is being used in the real world?
Yeah, there's either external or internal workflows, and the internal ones are the ones that we don't hear about as much, and then the external ones, we've seen a lot of police transparency implementations of our solutions. So in the US, we have a lot of folks, and the solution, is based around public information and outreach. So it's trying to shed light on different facts about law enforcement, how it's being used, and kind of providing information to the community. It also is an open data portal where you can go and collect information about maybe incidents or crimes, and use that yourself if you want to do your own analysis. So we've seen a lot of implementations like that. Toronto has one. It's not using a solution, but it is using ArcGIS technology. Recently, Ottawa deployed one as well, that's in beta. And so we do see that across the US and Canada that's implemented in a lot of ways. But that's I would say, a good public facing example of that.
Yeah, that's a really great solution. I've definitely taken a look at it myself, and it's fantastic to see different communities sort of engaging the public and letting them know what's going on. Solutions are a great tool for that. I really like that solution, but I'm sure there's a lot of different ones that are popular. Have you noticed any trend, especially in the public safety solutions, is there one that sort of stands out above the others that's popular with different types of users, and maybe why that would be?
Yeah, yeah. So I actually, we do have a few statistics on on that on the back end here. So I took a look at that, and number one by far is probably crime analysis. So crime analysis is an ArcGIS Pro centric solution that has an add-in, leverages ArcGIS Pro and some geoprocessing tools, as well as a pro package with maps and some workflows on typical workflows that crime analysts do. So that one's wildly popular, and probably number one in public safety, and often one or two in across all solutions. So that's one of the more popular ones. That's stuff that you see police doing data-driven decision making, and like really looking at patterns of crime, types of crime, what times those are happening, where they're happening, and then using that to make decisions on how they do operations, or how they staff, or how they go after those things. So that's probably my favorite too, if if I had to say. But yeah, that's definitely number one. Number two is flood impact analysis, which is also a ArcGIS Pro solution, and that's looking at localized flooding scenarios. So how does flooding at different depths impact an area? So is it going to be buildings here, buildings there? Is it going to impact infrastructure like bridges? Are there low water crossings? Where's the water, and what's that going to mean? And that really helps in preparedness for emergency management. So that's number two, and we see that's implemented a lot. That's a really big one too. And third is emergency management operations. So this solution has been around since I started on the solutions team many years ago. It's had a couple different names. It's had common operational picture, emergency management COP. There's been all these different names that it's had. But the most recent version that we released a couple months ago is one of our more popular ones too. So that's all about understanding impact, who and what is impacted in the community, and then communicating information to the public. So if there's an evacuation, update that, show those evacuation areas on a website. So it's also internal and external. So those are the big three, I would say, that are most popular and implemented a lot.
Yeah, it's incredible what these solutions can do, and there's so many to choose from. I mean, how many are there out there? There's what, 150?
Around 140-ish, I think, is where
Okay.
we're at. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Just a whole bunch of different choices. So I'm sure you probably have a favorite from that pile. So if you do have a favorite solution, maybe share why it's so special to you. I know it's like choosing a child, right?
Yeah, yeah. I feel like crime analysis, but I'm gonna say it's tied. And I talked about crime analysis, but the other one I really like is crime reduction statistics. And that's all about, if you watch crime shows, and we were talking about crime shows before we started recording. If you ever seen ComStat, so comparative statistics, like crime goes up, crime goes down in certain areas, and you have like command staff kind of explaining those things. This solution builds out statistics for those different jurisdictions, and you look at different crime types. and you can see trends going up and down in those jurisdictions. So that's something you see on TV, but many police departments do that everywhere, and so that's something that's really important to crime reduction operations. And so, yeah, I'm really proud of the work that the team's done on that. And Chris Delaney, who's on our team, is the crime analyst who worked on that. And it's a great solution, and it's really interesting too. So if people ask me about what I do, I usually end up leaning towards the law enforcement solutions and explaining those versus talking about maybe address data management. Really important when you call 911 to know where your house is, but not as interesting, over dinner.
Yeah, definitely. I can see both of them, having their own value, but it's definitely a little flashier to be like, hey, you see that on CSI? We do that too here. It's pretty cool. And thanks for sharing that one with us. I didn't know about that solution, so I'll have to give that one a check that one out. Sounds pretty exciting. So we were thinking about, what people might want to know when they're deploying solutions. And I think they're fairly straightforward, but, sometimes there can be some challenges that people might face when they're implementing them for the first time. And is there anything that your team does to help address that or to help users sort of get started with the solutions when they're first trying them out?
Yeah. I think common challenges are um, our help documentation is very linear. And so that's different than say ArcGIS product help, where if I want to understand a geoprocessing tool, I just search for the tool and I maybe look at specific things, but I don't read the whole thing comprehensively. The way that solutions are, we have an overview, a configure, and a use usually. And so the configure has required steps in it. So sometimes people skip those or they skip ahead because they're treating it like other help. And then they, get into a situation where, oh, I forgot that step, but I needed to do that before this other thing. And so that's a pretty common one. We try to educate. That's why I'm mentioning is we try to educate people on that as much as we can. In saying that, we've done a lot in the last couple of years to really improve our documentation. Most solutions now have a demonstration video associated with it, so we're always constantly taking feedback from people, hearing that feedback, and then trying to make those operational changes and changes to what we deliver to make people more successful. So yeah, it's a continuum.
Yeah, and I'm sure you want more people to start using ArcGIS Solutions. So, if you're unfamiliar with using solutions and maybe you want to learn more, what are some of the best resources for them to be able to access, including your documentation that you just mentioned?
Yeah. I guess if you go to solutions.arcgis.com, you'll hit the main site. And I would say, yeah, there's most of them have a video, those documentation. If you click on those items, you'll get a brief overview of what it's saying. You'll get some related solutions. I would say those are all good ways to get started with those solutions, to understand them. I also believe in just trying it, to deploy it. It takes a couple minutes, maybe seconds in some cases. Just take a look at what it is, take it apart, look at it, read about it. Those are all good ways to get familiar with solutions.
Absolutely. I definitely think Solutions has some of the best documentation in all of our products. So you guys have really put a lot of effort into explaining how they work and how to use them. So I definitely thank your team for that. The barrier is not that hard to get started. So definitely recommend people give them a chance. But
Maggie, it's so nice to hear you say that, because we've worked really, I think it's gotten better. The last couple of years, we put a lot of effort into that. So I think that's something we're really proud of, and I'm proud of, and I'm happy to hear that.
yeah, and I'm so glad to say it because it's true. We use a lot of different products. Obviously, all the teams do their best to get explain things as well as possible, but I'm deploying different solutions all the time, and I can always just follow the steps, and it's pretty straightforward. It's really not that tough to get going, even on some of the really complicated ones. So it's not so bad to get started, and I appreciate the effort. You can tell the effort's there. It's a great product to use. So before we let you go today, Lindsay, we do have to ask our typical question just to people. Solutions there's a lot going on, public safety solutions, there's a lot of details to know. But if we only have our listeners remembering 3 things that we talked about today, what are the key things that they should know and remember about public safety solution, ArcGIS Solutions?
Yeah, I think start with one, and what I mean by that is sometimes we get people at user conference or customers, they're so excited about all these solutions. I feel that too, and you want to do them all. Just pick one. Pick one that can really provide a lot of value to your organization, work with stakeholders, get buy-in, then start, get that first one going, get it going really well, and then do 2, 3, 4. So just start with one. That's number one. Leverage the resources we provide. There's a lot of great documentation there. Just do it in a linear fashion and you'll be all set. And then I think providing feedback too. So I think one of the reasons our team and our division is so great to work with is we're constantly trying to improve. And we can't do that if we don't know. So just providing feedback, whether that's on the Esri community, the blogs, reaching out to us on LinkedIn, that's a great way to engage with us. Or even, if you come to see us at user conference at the ArcGIS Solutions Expo, let us know about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we can take that into account and try to improve stuff going forward.
Well, this has been absolutely incredible, Lindsay. We really appreciate you giving us some insights on ArcGIS Solutions, and thank you for joining us on the podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to hang out and talk about solutions.
They are awesome. So thank you very much for joining us. That was Lindsay Thomas. She is the ArcGIS Solutions Lead for Public Safety at Esri Inc., and she joined us from Ottawa.